Aloha, this is Tara. Welcome to Live Yoga Channel. This is the Trust Your Gut Club where we meet on Tuesdays at lunchtime, taking a break to chat all things digestive health and wellness. I'm Tara, the metabolic therapist. We just finished up a chair yoga class. We did a 30-minute work break. So now I'm happy to be connecting here with you. So as you're joining in, feel free to type your questions, anything health and gut related. Today, I'm really excited to talk about the digestive system. And what happens when we give it a break. Maybe you've heard about the concept for intermittent fasting. Other people call it fasting, or there's lots of approaches to it. And so that's what I'd like to talk about today. Like, what are some best practices, and how might somebody consider fasting, and how it can help create benefits in your metabolism, in your metabolic health, and more. So if you're joining us, again, just feel free to send us a message, send me a message, write a question, something that might be up for you, and I'd be happy to give you some advice. Now, remember that I'm not a doctor, so as always, check with your doctor before you start a new program. And I've done lots for myself. I use diet therapies to handle my own health maladies that have come. I'm 42 years old and now get to deal with some things from chronic stress and inflammation and such. And if you haven't heard my story, I'm getting ready to launch a short video sharing a little bit about that. But I was a strict raw vegan for a long time, and it had some not so great consequences in that, I learned a lot around elimination protocols and fasting, yet I wasn't getting some nourishment. So I was malnourished for quite some time, and that had some impact. So today, I utilize the power of fasting. I do it daily. And when I first started, when was that? Back in 2005, I'd say my first cleanse, my first fast was, maybe you've heard of, it's called the Master Cleanse. And it's also known as like the lemonade diet. And so it's squeezed lemons, cayenne pepper, and maple syrup. And so that acts as the cleansing agent, whereas the calories from the maple syrup help to get you through the day. So my first one was for 12 days, and that became, I was like, wow, like this is amazing. I'll always remember my I was on a bike ride on day 8 of my first fast, and I felt high as a kite. I just felt so connected to spirit. I felt clear in my vessel. And I noticed that I was missing the hand to mouth. I was missing a fork in my mouth, or the actual chewing. And that was insightful. It helped me to realize, maybe some of my emotional connectivity to the foods that I eat and such. So after that first fast, I tell you, when I started eating food again, it was the best ever. It tasted so good. Everything was nourishing. But the big deal, like the purpose of why we fast, and fasting has been used throughout human history, throughout so many cultures. Even there's Egyptian scrolls where people would utilize the power of fasting to rid disease from the body. Through the Bible, across all cultures, people use it for spiritual practice as well as health practice, and that has become a big deal in my life. So maybe you remember pictures like this from school for our digestive system. And you probably remember, our body has so many systems in it. We've got our circulatory system, our respiratory system, our endocrine system, our digestive system, our immune system, and more and more. Now, the digestive system is one of them. Well, when we are eating, each time we snack or sit down to a meal, what happens is it turns on as soon as we start chewing, that enzyme process, enzymatic breakdown that begins in the mouth and then continues down the esophagus into the stomach, and then through, once it drops down into the small intestines and the large intestines. This is where the body is receiving the nutrients, and that goes through our mucus lining of our intestines. And so we really want the intestinal lining and the entire lining of our digestive tract to be intact. We want it to have integrity. And what happens is, more often than not, many of us have taken quite a few antibiotics that can compromise the lining of our guts, as well as stress and lots of pesticides in the food and such. So that can impact the permeability of our digestive tract. So when we take a break from eating 3 meals a day, and pardon me, and what happens then is that it gives the digestive system a break, because each time, I go to bite an apple, my mouth, my body sees it as a foreign object. So it's going to do all that it can to break it down and then, sort out what it wants and then get rid of what it doesn't. Well, if this is happening throughout our day so much, so often each time we snack or sit down to a meal, what happens is then our immune system, our circulatory system, our nervous system, all these other systems are on the back burner. So then when we give our body a break from our traditional eating schedules, what happens then is then the immune system gets to come up to the forefront and be the star of the show. And it gets more attention and energy. Same thing with our nervous system, our endocrine system, our lymphatic system. Like, it's just amazing what can happen when we give our body a break. And it often can not be so easy. We might have fear of missing out on a meal or a special texture, or we feel scared as if we're going to go without, and it can create some stress. So I love to share ways that we can increase our fasting window without feeling like we're missing out, right? And so the best way to do this, I've found over the years, is to have an intermittent fasting window. And how this works is to take advantage of our sleeping time, because clearly we're not snacking while we're eating. Although I have heard, I've had some clients that say they get up in the middle of the night and they just got to go eat some peanut butter or something, and that would break the fast, right? So what is happening though is if we utilize that time while we're sleeping, we're fasting. So you go to bed at 8 o'clock, you wake up the next morning at 6 or 8. If we can increase that time, so increase the time before we have breakfast, or take in basically carbohydrates. Before we take in any sugars, any simple sugars, any carbohydrates, even in milk, half and half, if we can stick to fats, then what happens is our window for when our body's breaking, we call this like having a break from feeding, then what happens is that increases our time that our body's repairing itself. And this is where I feel so fascinated with the science of our perfect bodies. Like, we have what we need to heal ourselves. And when we give ourselves a break, I see it in my eyes. When I take a break, I look more vibrant in my eyes. I'm not like inflamed around here, or sometimes we have different inflammation spots, I can see swelling in my feet or ankles when I'm carrying inflammation and such. So, if you're just joining us now, type in, if you have anything to add to this, like what happens when you feel a little like funked up or a little bit like you have too much going on, or have you tried fasting and what might have been problematic for you? Okay, so my first effort would be to say extend your period when you wake up in the morning. So wait to have breakfast. See if you can do it just a couple more hours and see how you feel. So then you spend the morning doing your morning meditation, your journaling, perhaps your practice, your meditation practice, or your yoga practice, or even your walk around the neighborhood, whatever your exercise is in the morning. And then as you say you make your coffee, see what happens if you have just coffee black or with a sweetener that's not going to spike your blood glucose. So you're not going to have an insulin response. So therefore, like monk fruit or stevia, or I've been studying a lot around allulose, and I'm going to give that a try here shortly because some doctors are saying it actually lowers our blood glucose response. And that to me is fascinating. So when we can extend the window where we're not taking in food, it gives the body space to repair itself. And the repair is happening at the cellular level. So that's what we want. What's happening at the cellular level, and the amount of hours that we can fast. There's different things that happen at like 13 hours fasting. We start to produce our own stem cells. How exciting is that? Lots of folks are starting to go to the doctors for stem cell shots, for achy joints and, pain points, whereas we have the ability to make our own stem cells, and we can do this through the power of taking a break from eating. Fascinating, right? So I like to promote, at first, if somebody is starting an intermittent fasting lifestyle, to incorporate what's known as an 18 and 6, if you can. So start with 18 hours fasting. And so that would mean stop eating at like 7 p.m. Just be done, because this is when you're going to allow your body a break and to repair itself. So then you stop eating, then you go to bed, you wake up in the morning, you do your routine, you withhold from eating just yet. And then after 18 hours, then you start eating. And then so you're getting your calories, all your nutrition for the day within a 6-hour window. Imagine that. It may sound strange and it may feel strange at first. I tell you though, after a week, 2 weeks of trying this, the body switches, and the cravings, those early morning cravings or those late night cravings where you're used to sitting and having some chips by the TV, or, first thing in the morning, start snacking away. Those cravings, they start to fall away. It may take some little bit of mind effort at first. However, if during that 6-hour feeding window, you're getting really powerful nourishment through great fats, great proteins, and easy to digest foods, then what's going to happen is you're going to have more experiences of satiety, satiation, that not the like, oh, I'm stuffed, but the feeling of putting the fork down, pushing the plate away and saying, yeah, I feel good. That's plenty. And I feel curious, or is anybody out there that has an idea of what that feels like? Or are we often, on the I call it the crazy train of chasing sweets, that seems like it's just insatiable, like, never ending. So that this power of intermittent fasting and bringing it to your lifestyle, not only can we shed weight, like once your body gets used to it, the pounds start dropping away. It's amazing. And then, of course, if you and I were working one-on-one, I would really want there to be, the best foods in that eating window. You're eating all organic, grass-fed, grass-finished, clean animal proteins and fats. And there's lots of science out there that shows people can lose weight and improve all of their markers without changing the style of food they eat. Like the what we eat, let that be down the road. But the when we eat, if we can create a fasting lifestyle that incorporates what I call a feeding window. So you get all your feeding, your fuel, your body's fuel in that 6-hour window. And it can change, say you get used to a certain time period and then you've got a wedding event or you're going somewhere for the weekend, you can shift it to where it works around your lifestyle. And that's where intermittent fasting is super helpful and viable and sustainable. All right. And there's lots of things once you get going on a intermittent fasting lifestyle with a compressed feeding window. The sleep improves, energy improves, brain fog falls away. And I tell you, for me, I feel more buoyant and able to bend down and get under the sink and do, just live naturally and feel strong in my body. So let me know if you have any questions. If you start on the fasting window, and if you're doing research and looking up online, there's lots of groups, there's fasting apps. I'm getting involved with one called Life. That's a fasting app, and it has like a community of people sharing their stories. And that way you don't feel like you're alone in starting something like this, and you get tips from other people as well. So one more tip before we go, if you don't have any more questions, today, first things first, would love for you to start. Just try on the concept of a compressed feeding window so that you get all your body's caloric needs during a 6-hour window, and then everything else is water. Some would say, and I fall into this group, coffee, as long as it's black. So I'll drink that in the morning before I open up my feeding window. And as long as it doesn't spike the blood insulin. And how we can really tell if that's happening is when we study our own blood. And so I do that through pricking my blood. But there's also the CGMs are growing quite trendy these days. Free Libre style is a popular one, but it's a continuous glucose monitor, and it's a patch that goes on the arm. And then that way you can just take your phone and connect it a few times a day, just touch it, and it syncs your insulin response throughout the day, which is so empowering, because then we get to see when we're eating, maybe what we're eating, what might be causing more of an insulin spike than something else. And then that can give us some insight of our unique needs, or even our own allergens to certain foods. So then we can, get those out of our pantry, right? So the CGM, it does require a doctor's prescription, yet what is happening more and more with pre-diabetes and people being handed diabetic drugs like metformin and such, they're handing that out left and right. So these prescriptions for a continuous glucose monitor, also known as CGM, those are easier to come by. Just ask your doctor, if they're wanting to help you live a healthier lifestyle, then get one of these. Get one of them and feel empowered. You can even see too how sometimes like too strenuous of an exercise workout can actually spike our insulin. That's not what we're wanting. We don't want to cause more stress in our body. So all things improving our insulin sensitivity, which is a strength in our human bodies throughout history as we've evolved. We've had the ability to, when we come across a berry bush, we'll sit there and eat those berries, and it's natural for there to be a blood spike in insulin, yet it should come down with ease. There's a natural spike to it, but not the constant elevations and then cravings of sweets. Because what's happening so much is just so much sugar in our food supply that it's causing a lot of stress and chronic illness inside Humanity. Again, I'm not a doctor, and there's plenty out there to see that what most modern Westerners are dealing with around obesity and chronic illness, from diabetes, high blood pressure, weight, and so much more. We can improve that through our consumption habits, and I love to share that with my clients and with you here at the Trust Your Gut Club. Folks that are stoked on improving their gut health and brain health and vibrant way. Like, we have a choice to consume something or not. And I want to be of support in helping you find tips and lifestyle tricks that help you feel your absolute best. All right, so give it a try. Join me again next week here, or send me a private message. Let me know how it's working for you. Have you tried an 18 and 6? Is that easy? Would you like to do 19 and 7, or even 20 and 4? What might that look like? How are you sleeping? What kind of things are you coming up against? And how may I be of support? So this is Tara, the metabolic therapist, getting ready to sign off here, feeling so happy for all you explorers of gut health, knowing that we have all the answers inside of ourselves. So when we connect to ourselves and spirit, however you want to call it, our higher self, God, goddess, all that is, we know what's good for us. And so let's empower one another here at the Trust Your Gut Club to feel good, look good, and shine on. So have the best day ever. Cyber Ohana, thanks for joining. I'm so grateful you be here. You were here with me. And if you learned anything, you liked something, please let me know in the comments. Please subscribe, share with your friends, and I'll see you again next week, Tuesday, at the Trust Your Gut Club here on Live Yoga channel. Ahui ho, aloha.